So again, same technique, same deal, and what I'll say, we've huge amounts of stuff. It's never any different than the first pizza. It's the same. Once you pull one rabbit out of the hat, you can pull 20, you can pull a lion or a wardrobe. It doesn't matter. It's the same. It's the same deal. Right? That's an important thing to have learned, and an important lesson I try to express to people, because it's something, you know, the trick is making something out of nothing. What the something is, it doesn't matter. That's just, you know. So we phoned up loads of different companies, and we ended up speaking to General Mills, which is, I don't know if any of you know, I didn't know who they were, but they're the 6th largest food producer in the world. So if you go into a shop, about 30 or 40% of the products on sale are General Mills. Old El Paso, Häagen-Dazs, Green Giant, there's a kind of an endless list of stuff. And I spoke to a human being, and it's very important to say that he's a human being, because when you talk about big corporations, most people have an image of a corporation being almost machine-like. They're not people. This is an entity with its own set of rules that exist outside of the human experience, and it kind of moves along. And a lot of people see bad guys. They see, oh, there are evil people and there are evil corporations, and this is a whole view of the world, which is very unhelpful. Because if you see bad guys, you're not going to make a friend with the bad guy. And if you see an evil corporation, you're never going to call them up. So you build the cage, you get to sit in that cage on your own. So, you know, we decided that we weren't going to pay any attention to the cage that we built and the perceptions of these different companies, and that we were going to reach out to the reality of the situation, which are that these companies are comprised of individuals, people, and all people are the same. You know, we all love our parents. We all want to live a good life. We want healthcare and education for everyone. You start to get down to basics for people, it's pretty unanimous. These evil characters, very few, very small percent of a percent are actually homicidal and need to be locked away or actually labelled appropriately as evil. We had a conversation with this guy at General Mills. He was named Peter O'Reilly, and we explained to him what we're doing, like I've done to you, and we have access to these guys who are starving in London, and could he help? And he said, yeah, I can. I won't let this fly on my watch. And he rubber-stamped a piece of paper that I didn't really understand at the time, because he asked, he said, if I send you a lorry, can you handle it? Always say yes to people when they offer something. So I didn't even think it through. I was like, yeah, okay, send that over, we can deal with that. He said 25 tons of food. Which is articulated 18-wheeler lorry, and most of these things, when you unload them, you have special machines that go underneath the pallets. We don't have any of that. We're a house, right? We're 3 guys. So this lorry turned up, and it took about, I don't know, about 8, 9 of us, better part of 4 or 5 hours of constant physical labor to give you some idea of the scale of the donation. It was just incredible. Every single bedroom, the living room. When I say full, I mean we had to walk through the house like this. We had it stacked up to the ceilings, and then went into the shed. And then we had to start stacking it up in the front garden. It went nearly a story high. Bean cans like that. Had the tarpaulin. It was incredible. And we had blocked the whole street, so all the shop holders, they started to get a bit anxious because we just basically cut the place up. And we said, listen, you've got a choice. We are going to unload this. You can bitch and moan all day long and slow us down, or you can take a jacket off and help us unload, and then we'll get out of the way. So something really magical started to happen. The whole community, for whatever motivation, they all jumped in and started to carry this stuff. And suddenly, what was 3 or 4 of us mushroomed, and there were loads of us unloading this thing. And we had enough food to give you, again, the scale of it's really hard to convey, but every single soup kitchen in London was able to take 2 or 3 vans away from the house, full white vans. We had a roster of all the soup kitchens coming. They were arriving every 20 minutes, and we had a team of men loading these things up as fast as we could move. Get out next. And BBC News turned up, and loads of papers turned up, because this is very unusual apparently, right? So something weird was happening in this house. And everything just went completely bonkers at that point in time. Suddenly, there was lots of different people paying a lot of interest to us that we'd never heard of, and lots of journalists. I don't know if you all have ever been interviewed by journalists, but they're a strange group of people that are poking around your house and asking you stuff, and the whole thing just went very strange. And we started to put a video up on YouTube, and it got 500,000 hits in like 2 days. And suddenly we had the world going, more, you know, you guys are awesome, give us more of this. And it was a real shock. None of us kind of knew this is not what we had expected. We've been visualizing positively, and we still had, and I still carry a lot of the baggage from who I was, and I wasn't particularly comfortable with being this guy part of a kindness crusade, because we were just messing around. We had no game plan here, and suddenly everyone was like, do more of this. So we thought, okay, what's the biggest thing we can imagine doing? So we said, can we do the biggest ever random act of kindness? And we said, yeah, okay, what would that involve? We started to imagine what that would look like. And we did, in December, we did a massive thing. We gave away 35 tons, which is nearly 50% more than we'd done on that one day. And at this point, we had 70 people who come and join us because the word had got out that we were doing these things. So what started off as 3, I remember on the day that we did that action, I looked out and there were legion. Everyone dressed in a stupid hard hat and a yellow jacket. I was wandering around, we're doing our car. Can I help you? Like, what is starting here? This is really bizarre stuff. And Boris Johnson heard about it on the news in the morning, and then he came to the event in the evening. He was like, I have to see what you guys are doing. Like, no one's ever done. What are you doing? You know, you're giving away millions of pounds worth of stuff that's on the streets to strangers. So he came down, and everything, we thought everything had gone as bonkers as it would go. And then it just went absolutely insane, basically. Suddenly we had the Fortune 500 companies calling us up, which was a really, hi, we would like to give you this, and hi, can you do that? And it was like, what? Okay, yeah, we'll come and see you, that's fine. And we'll cut a story short because we only have a limited amount of time. We then started to just do a series of massive giveaways and events. We gave away 500,000 pancakes in one day. We did an award ceremony for kind people. We set up scenarios out on the street where people were struggling. They'd either dropped their shopping or needed help with the pram. And as people appeared, we celebrated them. And the whole thing this very weird thing happened because we kind of stopped having ideas at that point. And everyone came to us with we should do this. And have you heard about, like, wow, okay, yeah, we'll take that number, we'll call that, we'll try and do that. And the whole thing kind of mushroomed out of our wall control. And now we're a massive group with chapters everywhere and people doing crazy stuff that I kind of read about on the internet. Oh wow, look, Kindness Adventure just did that. Isn't it? Awesome, cool. And yeah, and now we're kind of going from strength to strength. Boris Johnson has agreed to find us a mansion to live in, so that all the team, which is now growing, can be in one space to work on this stuff all the time. We're working with Johnson & Johnson on a kindness campaign to show the light side of kind of the corporations and things like that. And that's kind of the journey that I've been on. And the only bit of it, the interesting thing is that kind of, I guess on hearing the story you think, wow, what a big impact we've had on the world. I'm not really that bothered by the impact on the world because that's a very intangible, unmeasurable thing for me. I don't know how happy you are. I appreciate that you're happy and you're smiling, that's great, but that's not me, right? So, but the interesting thing was I started to change my mind about the way I look at stuff. That's the central bit, whereas I used to see a world of hardship and negativity that kind of had to be traversed because that's just the way it is, has suddenly changed into a world full of possibilities. And I don't see bad guys. I don't really care anymore what a company's done previously or what a potential volunteer might be, a criminal or a banker or something which, you know, gut reaction might be. I've learned that the more that you can abandon the idea of seeing things badly, the more you can disassociate yourself from the past of a history of a situation and not be worried or fettered by that. And instead say, you're a human being, this is now, what can we do now, what can we do tomorrow, as opposed to saying, you're a human being and I think you're guilty of this and I don't like who you work for. And all these kind of, you know, onslaught of stuff, which is very natural to bring. And well, I'm not saying I've arrived at a full mind change, but I understand that as soon as you see, how best to put this, everything is pretty cool. Everything is light and wonderful, and if it's dark and grim and disgusting, that's probably your own nightmare. And it's up to you to think your way out of your own nightmare. And that can be really easy with friends and family. If I say something like BP, if I say something like ING Direct Saving Bank, you might instantly jump into the mold of saying, bad people, don't want to work for bankers, don't want to, you know, don't want to know that, don't want to work with the next criminal. That's your problem. And if you bring your problem to these companies, if you bring your problem to reality, to people, all you're doing is making a cage for yourself. And when you're in a cage, you're trapped, you can't get out, you no longer get to have that friend, you no longer get to work with that company, you're limiting yourself. And so that's why I'm kind of, I appreciate the fact that we fed hundreds of thousands of people, and there are rock bands out there who have instruments. That's cool, I like it. I go to the concerts and I say, we gave them all that stuff, that's great. But really what this has been all about is changing my mind and changing the minds of the people within the group. And we've noticed that the sharper we can get on our perception of the world being a good place, the more we can embrace people as being possibilities for something positive, as opposed to kind of almost acting like judge and jury on them, the easier life becomes. Twofold. One, those people are more likely to do fun stuff with you and to make the world a better place. And also, if you sit in judgment on corporations and people and situations, that's a lot of baggage. It's like you've got a lot of stuff you're carrying around, and you no longer have your hands free to write stuff and to shake people's hands because you've got judgment in both hands. And I never really realized how much weight I was carrying around until I decided to put some of it down. And life has become a lot easier. And as far as the kindness events go, this is one of the things that I guess you all might have projects that you're doing or like to invest in. If you get it right, they run away with themselves. If you're doing it, it should be fun. And if it's not fun, if it's hard work and you feel like you're hard done by and that you've done something and at the end of the day you're less well off and like, oh, I'm really tired and I've got less money now and I've given away whatever it is you've given away and I really missed that. I wish you've done it wrong. You messed up. You go back and rethink yourself, because if you get it right, if you really see something as positive, it's a very rewarding thing. It doesn't take energy from you. It gives it back to you. If you approach something correctly, it will energize itself and it will grow. And that's one of the most remarkable things that I think I've experienced with this. I've worked for a lot of big companies. I used to be a producer for the BBC. I used to be a chef for Marco Pierre White. And that's very hard things. You kind of push programs out of the BBC. It's almost like pushing a block up a hill. And everyone back to it. When you think positive and you actually put kindness as the front burner, as the thing that you're actually going to focus on, suddenly you find that block isn't so heavy anymore because 20 people are helping you push it. And there's no resistance, no one on the other side of that block saying, you've got to stop now. It becomes a lot easier. So, I'm an extraordinarily self-centered, selfish individual, and I don't bring you any of this advice to make the world a better place. I bring it because it will make your life a better place. Do you know what I mean? And that's the only life you're ever going to have to deal with anyway. So you might as well focus on what you can actually do, as opposed to trying to change everyone else's mind. And just, I'll finish. One of the things, we work with a lot of different groups. So I've had a chance to talk to the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Hare Krishna. I've had a chance to discuss what they feel to be kindness and how. And you know what? I've got a bit of a gripe with some of the methodology that insists that if you have something positive, that you have to go ram it down everyone else's throat. that your truth and somehow is the multivitamin for spiritual development, and you must read this and you must I don't know. For me, I find that a little bit of, again, it's heavy baggage, and we very much don't go to try and change people's minds. We are out to have fun. And unashamedly, if you, we'll show you some of our stuff, we have a riot with what we're doing. It is great fun to be in the center of it. We invite many people to have fun with it, but this isn't a worthy thing. Making the world a better place and being a happier person shouldn't cost you your happiness. It doesn't make any sense. For the world to be a better place, you have to be a better person. That's what it is for the world to be a better place. So yeah, that's it. Maybe we'll play you a video that I'll take some questions.
Great.